Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Hey, you have found our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for being here. Well, today we get to interview a young lady who was a national proficiency finalist this year at the FFA's national convention. And we'll be speaking with Joanna Frankenberg, who's coming to us from The Ohio State University, where she is majoring in ag communications as well as a minor in ag business. She's going to be talking to us all about using robots on her family's dairy, surviving the last few years in the dairy industry, and the special circumstances that she had to undergo so she could be a member of the FFA. We're going to start that all for you right now. Joining me today is Joanna Frankenberg, and she's coming to us from Ohio State University, I should say, The Ohio State University, where she is studying ag communication and minoring in ag business. And we're going to be talking with her today all about her time in the FFA, her SAE, and something interesting that happened that she did so she could be part of the FFA during high school. So, Joanna, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, great. Thank you very much for saying that. And I'm looking forward to the interview, and I'm looking forward to kind of diving into your journey. I wonder if we might start by me just asking you a few questions about you so our audience can get to know who they're listening to.
Of course.
All right. Well, how old are you now?
I am 20 years old.
Okay. And we mentioned that you are at The Ohio State University. When you are not there, when you're at home, are you on a farm, are you in town, or something kind of in between?
I am on the farm. I have been raised on a third-generation dairy farm, so I am always around animals and loving it.
Okay, very good. So, on your family's dairy farm, are you milking cattle for cheese production, for milk production, a combination of the two? Tell us a little bit more about that.
We milk our cows for the milk production, and we have about 120 head, and we utilize Lely robotic milkers.
Oh, very interesting. Okay. And what breed of cattle do you milk?
Holsteins and Jersey crossbred.
Okay. All right. So tell me about the robotic milkers. I know a little bit, but not nearly as much as you. I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, so we implemented these robots 5 years ago, and so they last about 15 years, which was a decision that my family and I made. Mm-hmm. And these robots are very proficient in using analyzing data, and so I can look at these reports and manage our herd's health by looking at somatic cell count, milk productivity, potential sick cows, and I can just make the best calls for herd health when I need to make cow comfort, higher, and administer medications if necessary, all these types of things, all the calls that I am able to make utilizing all these reports off of the Lely robotic milkers.
Wow, interesting. So how are these robotic milkers assessing all that? Is it based on the milk that's being collected? Are they sampling that and testing it?
So every cow has a collar, and it's almost like a Fitbit for a human.
Okay.
There is a transponder. Yep, there's a transponder on the collar, and that detects temperature, rumination minutes, cow's activity. So it's basically like a Fitbit, and the transponder sends those analysis to the computer and does cows' averages data, and I can look at cows individually on there.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned that it's measuring the somatic cell count. How does it do that part?
It gets tested like in the milk when the milk comes in.
Okay.
It gives us an average on the herd, and it can alert us when we have someone when one of the cows is higher, so we can manage that and cut back on our somatic cell count.
Very interesting. Wow. Well, that is some high-tech stuff going on in your dairy.
Yeah.
Very good. When did you guys implement that?
2015.
2015. And are you finding that it's helping with the bottom line? Is there kind of a graduated curve to where this will eventually pay for itself? How does that all work?
Yeah. So it was a big startup cost to implement these at the beginning, but it's over time it has increased our milk productivity. So it has been a payoff, and it also cuts back on labor. So in the long run, it is, for our dairy situation, it was the right decision.
Very interesting. Now, let me ask you about this with these robots. And, I got to confess to you, Joanna, I'm still in the dark ages. I grew up in the 80s. So when you say robot to me, I'm picturing some big clunky machine walking around. I know that's not what we're talking about. But how in terms of these robots, do they break down? Do you have to have people come out and service them or troubleshoot on problems? How is all that?
Yeah. So it is kind of like a big stall that this cow walks into.
Okay.
And there is a feeder in the front. Well, we have a pelletized feed that comes out for the cows to eat, so they stand there pretty still and can relax and eat. And then there's this like arm thing that swings out and under, and the lasers attach the milkers to the teat.
Okay.
So it's this big stall. And yes, there is some technology issues once in a while when we're training, a fresh cow.
Mm-hmm.
It might, kick the robot. So we might have some technical issues, and we have a great support team with pringers, and they can come out and troubleshoot. And my dad and I are also trained, to work with certain parts of the technology that we have adapted to and understand, where we can troubleshoot errors in the technology when things don't go as planned. Because, with all technology, there is error.
Yeah. And is it the company that you purchased the robots from that will come out and do the service, or is there an independent business that's been created to come and take care of these things?
Both in certain areas. Yeah.
Okay.
There's both.
Very interesting. Wow, I'm learning a lot. That is really interesting, and I'm always interested in new business possibilities for people. And so, as this technology gets implemented more and more and more, it seems to me as though that may create an opportunity for a new business, people to come out and clean or troubleshoot, service, all those type of things for this equipment.
Yep, and we are also cleaning the robots 3 or 4 times a day. Just hosing off equipment from manure and wiping down screens. Because if they're not clean, they're not going to work correctly and not be more successful and proficient. Yep.
Well, obviously, based on what you just said, they're constructed in such a manner that they can take abuse if you can just hose them down.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
They can take so much abuse. Yep.
Okay. Very interesting. Well, how long have you been part of the FFA?
I joined FFA when I was in high school, so I've been a part for about 3 or 4 years now.
Okay. Now, this is the part of your story that I really want to dig into because you've got an interesting aspect to your story. You're 20 years old. You were a national proficiency finalist this year, so congratulations on that. That is great.
Thank you.
You bet. But you've only been in the FFA for, did you say 3 years, 3 to 4 years? So starting when you were 16, potentially.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a unique situation. So my high school did not actually have FFA. So when I was able to transport myself, I went to a neighboring school that did have FFA. So I was able to get involved there and really dive in deep. Yep. Okay.
So what was the distance between the two high schools, the one without FFA and the one with?
Not much. They're very similar, same area, same county, close, similar backgrounds. The only difference was the school I did FFA at, New Bremen, was a little bigger with more kids, so they could implement, more programs for students to get involved into.
So for you, it was a matter of waiting until you could drive so you could go over there for the FFA part.
Right, but now our school is able to provide transportation because my class was kind of the first one to start getting involved in FFA at a different school.
Okay.
But now the classes after me have been sending more and more kids over, so I'm really hoping that it'll continue to grow in that aspect and more kids can get involved in FFA because it's honestly the best opportunity any high school kid can have.
Yeah, it is a great opportunity, and you're right. I don't know of anything else like it in the public school system, at least on such a widely used basis, over 700,000 students. It's pretty amazing.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so while you were doing this, you continued to attend, and you graduated from your original high school, but you would go and you would take your ag classes and participate in the FFA chapter at New Bremen.
Exactly, yep.
Okay. What was the name of your original high school?
New Knoxville.
New Knoxville. Okay. Now, how come New Knoxville just didn't have its own FFA chapter?
They did at one point, a few years ago. Like my dad was an FFA at New Knoxville. Okay. But with just the lack of students coming to New Knoxville, since we are a bigger county, a lot of kids get spread out. So there's just the lack of program and funds. But with New Bremen were able to really work and benefit from their school with having FFA.
Okay. And so when you say you're a bigger county, you're speaking geographically, like square miles?
Yeah, there's a lot of kids in our county, but like with the school districts and everything, it's just kind of broken down in a funny way.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, to me, that shows quite a commitment to wanting to be part of the FFA. I mean, you had to sit there your freshman and your sophomore years and wait, and then when you finally got the opportunity, you're doing extra work, you're doing extra driving so you can be part of the FFA. So why was that so important to you?
I really just knew that I wanted the agriculture experience, and I didn't have the opportunity at my school, so I wanted to take advantage of it. And I knew all the great opportunities with CDEs and SAEs that I could really get involved in and start my career for my future, going to Ohio State and getting involved now and for my future long term, just so I had more experience and more networking and more opportunities, like even now. So I really knew that taking that advantage when I was 16 would benefit me here 4 years later and even further in life.
That's interesting. How did you know all that? Coming from a school that didn't have a chapter, you know what I mean? Where were you getting that information? Who exposed you to this, told you about this?
My parents for sure were a huge factor and still are a huge factor in my life. They support me 110%. And I just, I knew of FFA from other schools and areas and being at the fair with 4-H and FFA. So, and I just, I could see the opportunities, and I had the passion and drive to join it myself and take my opportunities.
Well, good for you. I love the story. I love the fact. Yeah, well, not that I interview FFA students every week, every week for the last 5 years, and it's one of my favorite things to do. And I'm yet to interview a student that doesn't have passion, isn't fired up. But I love the fact that you didn't take that for granted, that it was important enough for you that you went out of your way to make sure that it happened.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You bet. Well, you talked about your parents and their support. I'm sure there were one or maybe more FFA advisors along the way that helped you out. Who were those folks?
Yeah, my FFA advisor is Miss Maria Homan of the New Bremen FFA chapter, and she really helped me with my application. And, since I was coming in a little behind in the FFA program, she was really able to take the extra time and work with me outside of class and really hone in on my SAE. And she knew she had a great advisor, and she works with other great advisors. So she really knew how to word things, how to say things in the correct way after I gave her, after having all the information I do have, to really specify and hone in on those aspects to make it the best application and, really have the best foot going forward.
Great. Well, along those same lines and of support, I want to mention one of our sponsors really quick, Joanna, and everybody. That is Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment. They've been a great sponsor for years now of the Off-Farm Income Podcast, and I think that's a real testament to their support of all of you in this audience and everybody in agriculture, the fact that they will look at a show like we have here on the Off-Farm Income Podcast, and they're willing to stand behind it. So I hope you're all going over to powderriver.com, checking out all of their fantastic large livestock handling equipment, whether that's squeeze chutes or sweep tubs, runways, head catches. It could be calf tables, whatever you need, panels for sure. They by far make the best. They've been doing it for over 80 years out here, starting in the West with some of the craziest cattle you can ever encounter. And certainly they have made equipment that's going to function very well and reduce stress in your cattle herd on your farm, on your ranch. So please check them out, powderriver.com, and let them know that Matt Breckwald from the Off-Farm Income Podcast sent you to them. All right, Joanna. Well, I imagine being on a dairy that you've got to have some large livestock handling equipment there as well.
Yes.
Yeah, even dairy cows that get used to being handled, if you're going to be giving shots and pulling calves and things like that, you need to secure them, don't you?
Exactly, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about your supervised agricultural experience. I mean, that is why we called. I want to know what propelled you to being a national proficiency finalist.
Yeah, so I have been raised on the third-generation dairy farm. So, growing up, it was kind of always expected that I help out with the daily chores. But, as I got older, I got more invested and I had a piqued interest. And so when I joined FFA, it became a choice for me
Okay.
to make this my SAE project and really dive deep and, work alongside my father and really get invested so I could be a herd manager assistant and make this my SAE project.
Awesome. Well, let me ask you. So you had grown up around it. You're helping with chores. And then along comes the FFA, along comes the supervised agricultural experience. And your perspective, it sounds like, maybe shifted just a little bit from helping out on the family's farm to investing deeper, learning more, going further. What changed for you once you joined the FFA in terms of what you were doing on your family's dairy farm?
Yeah, so I think when I joined the FFA, my eyes were open to the networks and my future and careers and things. So when we got the Laley robots, I kind of was more invested and involved with the technology and everything. So that really piqued my interest. So I really took initiative to gain skills in working with the animals, feeding animals, watching the reports, and really just honing in on my skills and strengthening all my aspects in my SAE.
Is there a particular skill or responsibility that you did not have prior to joining the FFA that you now have on your family's dairy?
I would say, yeah, I really grew in my communication skills, just working, with my father, working alongside him now. I am able to maybe take a little more control on the herd management. So just having that communication all the way around with my father and my other family members working on the farm, and then along communicating all that to my FFA teacher when this became my SAE project.
Now, you've been in the FFA for just about 4 years now, and that's been a tough 4 years in the dairy industry. What is your family's farm doing to survive this, this kind of tough spell in the dairy industry?
Yeah, we are making financial cutbacks and things that we can do so we still can survive in the struggling industry. But the industry is on the upturn now after these last few years. And so we are still making a profit and staying afloat. And that's just with, the robots have helped with that investment, cutting back on labor and hiring our productivity. So it's really has been a beneficial thing with the robots and staying in the industry.
Very good. Well, now you are majoring in ag communications and you're minoring in ag business. I'd love to know about how you chose your major and your minor and what you're looking forward to in the future when you're done with college.
Yeah, so I had no idea what I wanted to do in high school, actually. I thought, nursing, dentistry. I thought everything. And then I went on a tour to a school one time, and they were like, well, what about communications? And I was like, that's interesting. What does that entail? And so I found out, journalism, marketing, broadcasting. And then I thought, well, I love agriculture, so why not combine the two?
Right.
And so Ohio State has a great program here, and I'm so happy to be involved here. And I hope I can make a name for myself here in AgCom.
Very cool. So when you project forward, say 5 years from now, and you picture what you're doing, is there some sort of a dream job, a dream career, or something like that you see yourself doing?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure quite yet. I want to get a little more experience in job shadowing and internships and things. But I'd like to, be able to communicate to consumers about producers in the agriculture industry and really, broadcast what is going on and, help market and media with all that in the agriculture industry.
Very good. Well, I look forward to seeing you on the screen or hearing you on a podcast or on the radio.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. Well, this has been great, and you're so devoted to being part of the FFA. I'd love to get your advice for other students out there who are maybe thinking of whether or not they would like to join this organization. You had to bide your time, you had to wait, and then when it was time, you made it happen, even going to another high school so you could be part of the FFA. What advice would you have to a student out there right now who's coming into high school and they're wondering whether or not this organization is for them?
Any student who is thinking of joining FFA, I say go for it. Jump in 110%, give it all you got. You never know what you're going to get out of it. You're going to, take advantage of those opportunities and get involved. You're going to make a ton of networks, a ton of friends. You're going to get everything out of it that you put into it. So definitely go for it. FFA is a great opportunity. You can travel, you can meet new people, and it will really benefit you in the long run if you're thinking about a career in agriculture.
Awesome. Well, Joanna, it has been a pleasure getting to know you and to hear your story. Congratulations on your nomination this year. I think that's a great achievement, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt.
Well, thank you for being here, everybody. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Joanna. Hope you enjoyed the show. And as always, we are very happy to be here and provide this information for you. And as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.